What is up, everybody? Justin here at the Real Alaska Podcast, and we're here with
Kevin Hedin.
Kevin does
photography.
Yeah, and some video work, right?
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah, well, 20 years of it, but yeah, I kind of definitely made the shift to photography. Yeah,
and with that came, I mean, obviously your biggest accolade to date so far, which was being able to have your stuff published on a national level because you were able to photograph and do all the shots for now Miss America.
Yep. Miss America, Emma Broyles, our new champion. Well, champion, that's kind of a wrong term, but yeah, pageant winner. I'm not sure. Right. Miss America for the state of Alaska. That's our first win for sure. Yeah. Which
is huge.
It is huge. Big stage, big, biggest pageant that most people know about.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty neat event. I think that being able to photograph, just, I didn't go to the national event, but I mean, I did all the stuff leading up to it, our headshots and that kind of stuff, social media content, whatnot. And, I did a lot of stuff for the state title holders as well. Mm-hmm. Probably only been doing photographs for pageant stuff for about a year, but honestly, it's been great. I think the gals are, super smart. They come in totally ready and looking to have, great photo shoot time, and just, I think it's been a good positive experience for me. Mm-hmm. Emma came in for a state title. We got her headshot done, and then she won state, and that was exciting. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And she'd come in last minute. I think she had scheduled a couple days prior, you know what, I'm going to do this thing. And she's just last minute. So need to get a headshot and do her state. Then she wins state, and everybody's congratulating her, and that's great. And of course, some of the ones that didn't know that she was coming in as a last minute thing were kind of oh, dang it, but she took that state title and then came to the national stage. And, one of the things that she told me in the studio was pretty cool. It's she's so humble. She's like, I get to meet the next Miss America. And I'm like, well, that could be you. So I'm like, no, I'm just going for the experience. No, there's no way. She was completely just humble about that. And I think that was really endearing to hear. And then, I didn't know what chances she had, honestly, but I knew that she could sing. I heard her sing at state, and I was like, wow, okay, that's not just somebody just singing for singing. She can sing. She can really, she can really belt it out. She's got training. And so then comes the national stage, and then, there's all these gals from each state, and they only pick 10 to actually perform and talk about their social impact initiative. And so she was one of them. I was like, wow, that's cool. That she's going to come home super happy that she was, top 10 and all this stuff. And I don't think anybody expected that it would keep going, top 5, then top 3. Yeah. People were freaking out. All the social media, my phone, everything was blowing up, and I'm watching everybody at home going oh my God, and then that final moment, where she wins, and then it's just it's all over. This is nuts. Alaska, for one, hasn't had a title holder from this state for Miss America before. And that's new, but it's also I think just also just happens to be the 100th year of the Miss America organization, which is kind of cool. She gets a special gold crown that no one else has ever had before,
That's cool.
And then she wins the most money that anyone has ever won. I think it was $100,000. Well, actually it was $105,000 winning, but what a lot of people don't know is she's actually getting a wage on top of that. So she's traveling around the country with her social impact initiatives and all these speaking engagements, but she's getting just about as much money in salary as she is in the winning.
That's cool.
So she gets to come home after all this free travel and 20,000 miles a month of travel. So she's getting her Alaska Airlines, the mileage thing.
Well, I'm sure they're probably treating her pretty good coming from Alaska on Alaska Airlines.
Yeah.
I can just imagine.
Absolutely.
They're probably planning that up pretty well.
Yeah. And then she's got all this scholarship money that she can continue her education. And I think she's trying to do become a dermatologist is what she's trying to do.
That's cool.
Yeah. So she's, medical stuff is obviously very expensive. So she's I'm going to use every last bit of that scholarship.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was pretty neat. I think just being a part of the whole pageant system was cool as a photographer. There's a lot of things I didn't know about pageants before that I know now that I'm really, I respect, and I think it's great. So for me, going to these events, and we had a Ferrandi event that was pretty cool. I mean, 27 state title holders came up to participate in that. And that was a lot of fun.
Which is huge.
It is huge. I mean, I think we had an MC, K-Whale.
Oh, Bob Lester.
Bob Lester, yeah. He did great as an MC. He MC'd, we had a VIP event, which he MC'd at, and then we had a big gala at the Captain Cook Hotel. All of that was really put on very well. I have to give a shout out to Bonnie Falk, who set up all those events, and she worked tirelessly for like a couple of months just getting all these events, this entire weekend of Ferrandi set up, because we had a Miss America show, we had the parade, we had a signing session and all these things, and then all these parts and pieces put together for an amazing weekend, amazing homecoming.
Right.
And I got to photograph most of it, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And I think just for me, I enjoyed it for one, but also like just being able to be part of that event and create some memorable photos for people, I think was really cool. And people have just been coming out of the woodwork to, thank me for participating in it, but also just, to share their photos online. And it's been very good in the social media world for that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Can't underestimate the power of social media sometimes, especially when you have a representative from 27 states sharing your photos all of a sudden. And then it's like, oh, my algorithm just kind of just benefited from that.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. How'd your Instagram do off all that?
Yeah, quite well. Seems like my, the reels and the photos kind of take off from, a couple hundred to a couple thousand. And then now it's like 6,000-7,000 views on reels, which is pretty cool. So, for some that's still pretty low, but I think that's, for me, it's great because I don't need like a million. I'm not trying to do something, like nationally here. I think what's kind of cool is that it just kind of brings awareness to my brand of photography and what I do. And if I keep busy, that's, the name of the game.
Right.
But so, I think it's been amazing. And I still have a lot to share. I've been so busy with other stuff that I haven't even really shared much from that whole weekend.
Right.
I'm about to, but it's the social media part of it is pretty cool. And, but as a photographer, like I'm more interested to see other people share my pictures than I am to share my own. I think it's important that people can see me and the behind the scenes and what it means to work with me. I mean, that's part of the game. But just to see other people share their stuff, put the pictures that I took of them on their profiles, it makes me feel good. I'm like, oh, they're proud of that picture, and their friends and their family are all commenting and saying how much they love that photo of them. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I'm glad I was able to do that for them. And I think that's what I get out of it too, is it's not just about, just taking a picture, but it's like empowering people, making them feel good about themselves, giving them the kind of image that they're proud of, that they, so that experience, I can't underestimate how important that experience is from the moment that somebody even decides that they need professional pictures to the very end. It's all these in-between things of giving them the encouragement, the welcoming part of, coming to my studio and just getting their picture taken. Yeah, it's all important. And I've learned that now, like creating an experience for the client, and I'm sure could probably talk about the experience for your clients as well. It's really important. People want to know that they're not just pushing a button, getting a product, that they're being taken through a point A to point B in the whole process in there.
Yeah. I think people are willing to pay premium dollar for an experience. Right.
Right.
Because if they weren't, then like we talked about, just taking a selfie with an iPhone.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a difference.
Yeah.
Because obviously the iPhone or, smartphone is a powerful tool. They take amazing pictures. I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago that a phone now can do this, I've been called you crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have to compete against that.
Right.
That's hard, right? I mean, I see, and you go to these events, even like that weekend, like I was giving away a whole bunch of photos too for promotional use. And so people could take my photos and share them on social media.
Right.
But I have to be quick. I have to be super quick because they've already gotten pictures on their phone. and they're like good enough, right? And so they're just like sharing, and they might be grainy, but they don't care because they don't know how to make it any better. It's the experience, it's the event. So I got to get my pictures in front of them pretty fast because I want them to share mine. You know, like that's part of the game too. So it's like it's already on their phone. They don't have to download it from someone else. So they just got it, boom, share it, done. You know, but I got those photos out the next day.
That's pretty sweet
for most of them, not all of them, but yeah. And people are like, "Oh my God, you got the photos out the next day? How'd you do that?" Like, yeah, well, I was up till like 3 a.m. in the morning,
all night,
all night. Like, yeah. But
I haven't gone to bed yet.
I know, right? Yeah. But those are just the events kind of things. I mean, obviously for more of the other kinds of photos, portraits, that kind of stuff, it's not next day. But I think that is important as far as doing events, is to try to get people's stuff quickly, because you are competing against the iPhone, crowd taking their own pictures, and it is quote unquote good enough in some cases because the resolution is good. But again, something that we kind of touched on prior to starting this podcast was that, it's like people don't necessarily hire me because of the resolution of my camera, and people don't ask me really even what I'm shooting with. Some people do if they're into photography, but most people could care less. Right. So what is it about hiring a photographer that matters? Like, why do you even bother, right? Why don't you just hand your friend your phone and take a picture? Well, two things: lighting and posing. If you don't know how to use the available light or lights that you bring to make someone look their best, that's a challenge. Like, you've got to understand how to work that part of it to make a great picture. And then also, like, posing, like, people say, like, I don't know where to hold my hands, I don't know what to do with my feet, I'm just gonna stand here, I don't know, the
turtleneck.
Or push your head out. No double chins, right?
I remember that very vividly from mine. Like, okay, Justin, just like a turtle. And I was like, this is awkward.
There's nothing not awkward about taking pictures sometimes. I mean, it doesn't have to be awkward all the time, but there's some techniques and things that I have people do that are like, they seem awkward, but then when they see the picture, I'm like, oh, I get it. That's why we did that. Yeah.
Okay. Don't do this.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think at some point, because I show my camera a lot, back of my camera a lot to people as we're taking, so that they can see what we're doing is what it's producing. And then that in turn gives them the confidence, and then they're like not questioning it anymore. And then they're just free to just do stuff.
Just do it.
I think the biggest example of that is like, I do a lot of senior photos, right?
Oh, right.
Senior photos is like a big category for me. So, most of these kids have not had a professional, photo session before. And, the ones that have still, obviously still benefit from being directed and things like that. But I show my camera a lot to them, and I think that really helps. I mean, you start out, maybe a 4-hour session going around downtown or maybe going around some of these beautiful areas in Alaska, and you just kind of start posing them and doing things, and then they're just kind of like, okay, and then everything's fine. But then you show them the back of the camera, and you just show them what you just captured, and you're like, oh my gosh. Like the eyes open up. They're like, I don't believe it. Like, what? Like, how? What? And they get excited.
Right.
And then, oh my gosh, the rest of the photo shoot's amazing, because they're just like, they're willing to do whatever I say. Like, just this way, my hand over here. Sure. Yeah, you bet. And then sometimes I don't even need to direct, because they start to kind of catch on to kind of like the free, just being able to move. People start stiff, right? So sometimes just feeling like you can move and naturally and capture that is important. So yeah, that really, and that whole thing is part of that experience that I was talking about. Like, people want to feel empowered. People want to feel like there's no awkward moments, and that they're getting what they want to get. These seniors, I mean, a lot of them are coming off of 2 years of COVID, where they didn't really, they had to wear a mask. They haven't seen their friends' faces. They've,
No school.
The first year was like no school, all online.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been hard. It's been really hard on them. And I keep hearing over and over again, like, as I get more and more seniors, they're like, man, we just want to do something that feels real. We just want to do something that feels good and like normal, they want to feel normal again. And honestly, taking pictures helps. That experience has been enabling for so many kids, and it's boosted their confidence and their Yeah, and most of the time, like they don't even share a lot of the pictures. Sometimes, I mean, yes, the pictures are important. The parents are getting prints and albums and
Right, of course.
wall hangings, all that kind of stuff. But the kids, they'll share a few here and there. But I mean, to be honest, I hear mostly about their experience is what they got out of it.
Right.
And yeah, of course, they'll share some pictures, but if they get 100 pictures, they're not sharing all 100 of them on their Instagram. So where do they go? Right. Well, they end up going in an album or things like that and sit on the coffee table, or they take it with them and for their future husband or future spouse, or, maybe their kids someday. But yeah, I think, and I think that's pretty cool. That's something that I did not expect getting into photography, is that don't underestimate the experience, I
think that's like anything.
Yeah.
People want a positive experience with no matter what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Our job right now, our experience with buyers, sellers, whoever.
Yeah.
It's all about the experience you provide, right? Of course, the service, but as well as the experience. You want to have a positive experience, fun experience, something memorable, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we do like the red carpet stuff, and we do all these kind of fun stuff, right? And that's why we do all the YouTube.
It's important. It's probably the most important thing. It's what not only keeps them coming back, but it's why they'll tell their friends.
Right.
Like, this is who you should hire. This is who you should go to. Because if they feel good about the entire process, then they want that rep. They want to see some of their friends have that same experience too.
Right. Exactly. Especially if you made it fun and engaging and comfortable. It's a big one, especially in photography, because the personality completely is portrayed. If they're really like timid, or if they're loose and the personality comes out, right? Yeah, it's like it's obvious. Like, okay, smile, versus like just completely relaxed, let loose, having fun with it. That's So you want that to kind of come across the pictures.
Yeah, and
the photos.
I have a hard time kind of perceiving my own pictures. So I always like to hear from people, like, what do you get out of it? What are you seeing? Like, what makes you want to even come to me? Because I'm too close to it.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing words like, "Oh, your photos are so clean," and I'm like, "Clean? What does that mean? Clean? Oh, is it like And then I started understanding like what they're talking about, like. It's like my pictures I don't like to have a lot of distractions in photos. So I like to have things that are very like, whether it's the pose, whether it's the what's behind them or, whatever, just looks polished, I guess.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like overly retouched. Like I definitely do not like those overly softened photos that look like, complete retouching. Like my goal is to make it like, if there's any retouching at all, it's going to be very like, you shouldn't be able to see that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to say like that's been retouched, and that's really important to me. But yeah, I mean, having those polished pictures, I think just kind of sometimes is makes the photo stand out. I guess it's my style. I mean, that's something I hadn't really thought about too much. Like, what's my style? What's my look?
Right.
I guess I do want it to look like it kind of popped off a magazine cover. And
right.
Make it feel like you're the boss, and you're. I mean, there's plenty of great photographers who do all kinds of styles, and I see them all. There's different looks, different kind of colors, different whatever. Mine, I guess, it's very colorful, very bright, vivid, true to life, and but also just capturing moments that I feel are genuine and fun. So yeah, it's a balance, and it shifts. It's always shifting, but I think that it's fun to create things that, even though the picture may not be going into a magazine, I think it's fun to create images that look like they would. Well,
you just never know.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure you weren't like, man.
I mean, sure, I've had the luxury of having my photos published a few times here and there, but honestly, that's great. It's not. And I'll make like a little collection in a drawer of like magazines, but that's not really what does it for me. I think I just enjoy hearing from my clients, and I enjoy hearing what it does for them to know that they're happy with not only the experience, but the pictures and hearing all their friends talk about it is really more enjoyable to me because I just want to make people happy, you know, and I really truly mean that. It's, I mean, everybody likes accolades and awards and things like that, but it's less important to me, you know? Yeah.
It's about the service.
Yeah. It's about the service.
That's what kind of why you got into business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A passion for it.
Passion. Yeah.
It's usually how people get into business.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's those who are trying to follow the dinero, you know, the dollar.
Yeah. Well, if I was trying to follow the dinero, I'd probably be in a different line of business, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that I'm, you know, a broke photographer. I mean, certainly, like, it's working for me. I'm able to feed the family and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's a struggle. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to kind of find your worth, figure out what the, you know, someone once told me there's basically like three levels of photography. You've got in the middle is kind of like your premier or premium kind of photographer. On the top is like your luxury photographer, and then on the bottom is like your budget photographer. You know, like, you know, where are you? You know, and I guess that's, you know, like, really kind of comes down to, for one, pricing, but, you know, like, you have to sell a reason why you are, you know, a luxury photographer and or what makes you premium, that kind of thing. Yeah. Those lines are kind of blurred. I think it just depends on where, you know, you feel like you're at. Right. You know, I'm definitely aiming for that luxury photographer kind of thing, you know, but I'd say I'm probably more priced at the premium level. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still affordable, you know, like, I'm not like astronomical. You know, maybe pricing changes will come at some point, but I think right now, I want to make sure that this is something that works for a lot of people and still, you know, pays my bills, you know? Right. And so, but bottom line is, you know, like, I think it's just, you know, this market is not a huge market. And so I do have to do a lot of categories of, you know, not only just seniors, but also like there's corporate headshots, there's, you know, events, and there's different kinds of things that you have to just take on because they fill the little holes that in between. Right. If I was to just pick one category, I'd say senior photos would probably be that one category. I have a lot of fun with it, and so do the clients, but yeah, you kind of have to do a lot of different things to make it work. So
yeah, I'm sure clientele base kind of determines kind of where you fit too, you know? Yeah. Or am I completely off?
What do you mean exactly? Like client, like what the makeup of our community is?
No, I mean, like, you know, to who you typically shoot, right? Oh, so if you wanted to go more luxury, obviously you would kind of want to concentrate on that. Yeah, clientele base of like more luxury style, like magazine style shoots. You know, obviously now you have some some national platformishness.
I think your vibe attracts your tribe.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You know, yes. If you put out photos that are what you intend to shoot or what you like to shoot, you will attract that group of people. And so. You know, lately I've been doing a lot of sharing of like pageant related stuff, and that's brought a lot more pageant headshots towards me. I'm about to kind of shift gears again back into senior photos and post a lot of like last year's photos on there, and I think that's going to again bring in those. Yeah, like
we're coming close.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, to be honest with you, seniors actually all year round.
Really?
Yeah, I've shot them all year round. It just depends. There's going to be heavier months than others, but you know, some people leave for the summer too. So like, maybe they don't think about their senior photos until like right before school hits or as school hits, but they want the good weather. They don't want the winter photos. So
you don't want spring breakup where there's it's all dirty and there's no leaves on anything.
Yeah, this is kind of the worst time, honestly. But you know, the nice thing about hiring someone like me any time of year is that I know how to get around that. Right. You know, like I can find those pockets. I can. I do a lot of traveling around. I do kind of checking out where the best spots are for every part of the year. You know, maybe we go up on Flat Top, you know, and really get that winter scene all over again. Or, you know, maybe we're like somewhere in. You just get these, maybe no leaves on the trees, but kind of like these little willows and things like that, or just you find these pockets of beauty. I mean, I don't want to give it all away, but like there's this one spot in like a Klutna tail race where the water is always not frozen, like it's always coming off.
Interesting.
Well, because there's a Klutna lake, and then you got this treatment plant, and the water comes out and it goes into this beautiful bridge, and then you have this perfectly winter scene with this blue water that just kind of comes right out from there. It's just gorgeous, and it's really no secret. Most pro photographers know about it, but yeah. So and then of course you've got like there's some indoor locations that can look pretty amazing too. So, and I think that's what a lot of people will, when they hire a photographer, they hope that they have some of these locations because they can't always think about where do I go shoot, you know, and maybe that scares people away from shooting during certain seasons because they think there's no place to shoot, but little do they know. Yeah.
Tips and tricks.
Then I show them. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's cool. You know, so obviously obviously with the Alaska podcast, we're concentrate on business. Yeah. And the why of business. And why people do what they do. Yeah. Because really I enjoy the stories. I think the listeners who listen really enjoy like the why. Yeah. You know? So Kevin. Yeah. What's your why? My why? What got you into photography? Why do I even do this? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we covered a little bit of it. Yeah, just a little bit. I think it's, you know, I mean, obviously it's a passion thing, right? You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the experience that I give to people and what I get in return. I think it's just, you know, I mean, sure, it's financial. We all are in business for the finances, but I mean, in terms of why this, I think it's just, you know, I thought I was going to be a computer science major of all things, like when I was in college or whatever. I mean, I was always good at computers, and I thought, oh, well, that's my path. And you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, this is getting pretty hard. Coding is hard. Your phone's almost that now. I mean, yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I was in college. I remember at Southern Oregon University, and I remember going. I was one of the computer science lab, you know, helpful people, whatever, helping other students. At the same time, I was learning HTML code and building websites. That was when HTML was really simple. Right. Like, you know, not so much simple code for color or a bar across the screen or whatever. Yeah. Well, it got complicated really fast. And I was like, do I want to do this? Is this what I want? Is this really the path I'm, you know, like I was technically proficient, but maybe not at that level. And so I was like, what else would I like to do? So, I mean, I had already gone to art college in Arizona, and I enjoyed that. But only did that for like 2 years, and, you know, ended up coming back to Southern Oregon to finish things out. I think having that photo background, but also having people around me that were also into photography, having an art teacher in high school that really taught me about, you know, just pick up a camera and shoot, and just, you know, teaching me the basics and being able to shoot for my own high school yearbook. All those kind of things led up to me like kind of going back to that and like realizing like, oh, maybe I like the art side of things. Maybe the computer stuff is always going to be there, no matter what I do. Maybe I should just focus on what I love to do. And I think that was a pretty cool moment for me. I came up to Alaska. The first thing I did was like ran down to Stewart's Photo and bought a camera. Because I'm like, I love that place. I mean, they got everything. And you know, this is back in the film days, of course, you know, no digitals yet, but I spent a lot of money on film and testing and working with different people to create my portfolio. And I was spending a lot of money on that. But I think it was a passion, but I didn't know how to turn that into a business at the time. It took a little bit. I think I ended up going into, you know, video work because I saw there was some more money potential there, and worked for TV stations, then independent production companies, and then advertising agencies and that sort of thing. And that I built an entire career off of, you know. Still did photography on the side, but I did it for myself. I did landscapes. I shot everything. I shot astrophotography. I shot, you know, whatever, just not so much people. I mean, I shot my own kids, of course, but yeah. Then kind of circled it all back to realizing like, hey, you know, this is actually pretty fun, and I should really kind of see what comes of it. And I think it was through last few years of, you know, COVID and changes with the advertising agency world, and not being able to count on that money as much anymore because of changes in the economy and how it affected them, which affected me, just kind of brought it all back to like, hey, you know, maybe now's the time to really go full, you know, 100% photography. And I think that, so sometimes it takes a little bit of adversity, it takes a little bit of hurdles to realize like what you want to do. And I think that, you know, the passion's always been there, but
kind of get over those hurdles and that little bit of a push from behind, and then then both feet, get a studio, get all the gear you need, spend a lot of money.
Oh God, it's easy to do in photography and video business.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I won't even get me started there. I mean, I have you have gas syndrome like I do. You know what gas syndrome is?
Oh, what? Go ahead, explain it. Most likely,
gear acquisition syndrome.
Oh, yes, 100%.
So you have gas, I have gas.
Well, it's like shiny thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you walk into Stewart's. So shout out to Stewart's for taking a lot of my money.
Yeah.
But
it's,
they make cool stuff, man.
It is cool. But, here's the thing, though. It's like cool. It can be cool. But I always look at it like, okay, is this going to save me time, save me money? Or, I need to look at it from an investment point of view. Right. And sure, have I bought things that I probably shouldn't have? Yeah. I think we all have. But I really take the time and the care to research and making sure that something's going to actually be beneficial for my business. And so, I do pride myself on that, because I do make sure that, that's it's a really important thing to have, is like, your gear is important, but your livelihood and your bottom line is more important.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't want to go broke and then you can't do anything. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, I'm inspired actually by another photographer who's been in the business since the 80s. He's a corporate photographer here in Alaska, and his name is Chris. He's actually done an amazing job with his gear. Like, his flashes or his strobes, his camera stuff is not all the latest tech. It's probably not even like the last generation or the generation before that. It's kind of dated, but he makes it work, and he thought about his investments. And he knew what he needed, and that's exactly what he needs, and he doesn't need any more, any less. And he makes it work. And he's continuing to make it work, and it's impressive. And I'm like, wow, like that just reminds me that like I don't need to be chasing after that latest and greatest. I mean, sometimes there are some reasons, like very specific reasons, if you're doing something that you may need. But I mean, he's way more successful than I am, and he's doing amazingly well, and he is very frugal, and he does it, consistently. So I just have a lot to learn from him.
I have been, because we do a lot of video. Right, more than just photography. We don't really do too much photography. Yeah, obviously, like, a lot of what we do is video.
Sure.
And of course, DJI came out with that new Ronin 4D camera.
Oh, the one that
it's got the gimbal attached. It's got the camera and the gimbal.
Oh,
all in
where
one.
you can walk along. And
and it shoots an 8K.
You got one of those?
No. I wish. I think Mike wishes. Mike's over here like, yeah, man, get that. But it's rad.
For anybody that doesn't know, that camera is, you got to go look it up. What's it called again? The DJI?
That DJI Ronin camera.
Ronin. But Ronin what, though?
I think it's the Ronin 4D. I think it's what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
It's rad. I mean, it's a camera. It's the gimbal built in with a 4-axis system.
Here we go on the gas syndrome again here.
See, I know, man. They have a 4K and an 8K model, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I want this so bad. It's also like $7,500.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, there's a, price point hurdle there.
I think to
make it worth it. But
I think for those like us that enjoy gear, it's hard to resist that. They're fun, they're tools, and we want them to work in our business. They don't always fit in our business, but we want them to work, so we buy them anyway.
I will make it fit.
Yes. But I think it's important for any business person to really just, it's okay to look, it's okay to try, it's okay to borrow and rent, but it's like, and of course you've got the means, you just want to like have a bunch of toys go for it, but if you're just trying to run a business, for just what you need, it's important to do your research. It's important to know. Yeah. I mean, I have more than what I need. I'm always looking for, stuff like sometimes that might be helpful, or like props or whatever, but even then I'm like, most of the time I don't really need props or anything like that. I'm pretty much fine with like, simple backdrops and whatnot, but it's you have to kind of just like stop looking sometimes. Just like, okay, Amazon's are always right there to click away.
it's obviously consumerism in America is a complete thing. I fall right into that trap of always looking for really cool. Of course, the new drone comes out,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then this comes out, and then of course they sell you on the cool shots that the drone do, and the follow features and all this stuff. And I'm like, that would be rad. I think I can use it doing this, right? And you're just constantly in this like battle.
Yeah.
of need versus want.
with your interest in tech, I'm surprised you're not using these drones and these cameras like shooting your own real estate. But you do some of your own stuff? Do you photograph some of your own homes, or do you just farm that out? Or
we farm out the photography and like Matterport and 3D walkthroughs, but we're going to be doing a lot more of our own video walkthroughs, especially agent forward, actual walkthroughs throughout the home and doing some of these kind of luxury tours, right? Mainly just for YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. Really trying to branch and grow our channel there. So that's kind of the idea behind it, but
right.
Really deep dive into some of these shorts as well. Like I said, YouTube has shorts now, and then the reels and TikTok, and it's just
it's like you always have to have content, right? I mean that's the name of the game, is keeping a regular and steady stream of content for your potential clients, right? I mean it's important. It's like if you just take a short break and nobody hears or sees from you, it's like people are not proactive.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yep.
That's what I found about even with my business. People are not proactive about searching you out unless they have an imminent deadline that they have to go find somebody. And if you haven't been top of mind for like the last month, then you are not top of mind. Right. You're going to get left behind. Recommendations obviously go a long way.
Yeah, referrals.
People always ask their friends, and that helps, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. But that Google search is going to just pull up a bunch of different people, and you're going to be like, I don't know, this one's got 20 reviews, all 5 stars. This one's got 20 reviews, all 5 stars. What's the difference? I don't know. Like, if you don't have any basis for that, so that social media content, that regular pattern of like, what's in it for them? Why should they even bother seeking you out? That's important. But man, it's time consuming.
It's very time consuming. It's actually really impressive.
How do you balance that? How do you manage your? So I'm turning the tables on you now. How do you manage your social media? Because like I have a hard time keeping up, man.
Yeah. We have a social media team attached to our company, right? So
maybe I need your team.
Yeah. So it's because I was doing it by myself for a while, and I realized that was like my largest time suck. And I'm just not very good at Canva. Canva is actually pretty easy to use, but there are people who are better at it than I am.
Yeah.
And I want to be good at real estate and running a business. Yeah. I don't want to be good at every aspect of my business.
Yeah.
Right. I should know about it. Right. But I don't need to be a social media expert. I don't need to be a Canva expert. I don't need to be a video expert. Right. That's why I hire people.
That's really important. That
right.
That's really important.
Social media was the biggest one to pull off my plate, probably, because we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, business pages of Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Oh, and then you have your business profiles and your personal profiles.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, there's like, you do one post and it goes up to like 13 things, right? And I'm like, dude, how do you manage this?
Yeah,
it's just one post, and then of course Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. All have a different layout.
Yeah.
And
some square, some tall, some wide. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, man, so I have to take this one post and do 5 different variations of it.
Oh, and TikTok has a new stories mode. So
I know, I saw that. Yeah.
Another place to post your story.
Yeah. And live, once you get past 1,000 subs on TikTok.
Do you have live?
No.
Oh.
I'm at like 812. So follow my TikTok. So
okay. We'll do. I'm on that.
So it's really, that to me was like finding someone that was able to kind of handle that, especially for the team. Right. Team's like, hey, I just sold this. Here's a picture. Please create this. And they go blah, 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 across all the platforms.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And, for me, like I think the hardest part is capturing those behind the scene moments, because I'm always like, taking the pictures, and people tell me like they love to see the behind the scenes, even sometimes more than the actual photo.
Yeah.
And so like
we noticed that too with our filming.
Yeah.
That people will gravitate more to the behind the scenes of our filming.
You know what I think that
Pictures.
is? You know,
And they do the actual video.
I think there's two camps on. I think some people actually like that because they like to see the technology that you're using,
Right.
but honestly, like most people see that behind the scenes as being the more genuine part,
Real.
of the more real part. Yeah. You know, a final photo can have a lot of tricks up its sleeve,
A lot of editing.
Yeah. But that behind the scenes is a little more raw. It's a little bit more like, oh, what really happened? What?
Raw.
And they want to see what their experience is going to be like too. So if they see someone else having fun or enjoying something,
Right.
that might be relatable to them. So that's really important. And I think that's, and so I've employed a couple of techniques of like mounting little GoPros on my real camera.
Oh, right.
Or being really a dork and mounting it on my chest, you know.
Oh, there you go.
Or sometimes a 360 camera is helpful too.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, just having one of those. Maybe I'll plant it down on the ground or something like that just during a session. But I try to do that because unless I got like, if I'm doing a senior photo, I'll have like, you know, mom take some, you know, picture. I'm like, hey, can you get me in there too? And I'd love to, you know, get that afterwards. But yeah, having the behind the scenes is really important. And I try to do little videos with my senior clients, you know, little kind of, you know, just one-on-one, you know, how'd your session go, blah, blah, blah. And we talk about what's going on. And they love that too. And they share that.
On the reels. They share it on their stories. Like, it's impressive.
It's fun. And I think I got into my own head of making everything that I post better and better and better. Like it's become a point where it's like, now I don't hardly post because I'm like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
You just have to share it.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah,
you don't care if it's perfect.
Right.
They just want to see it.
Right. And I think that's it too. I'm in my own head, right? You know, because I'm like, I don't want to post that reel that flops, right? But like, you have to accept that,
right?
And you have to just be like, you know what? It's more important to just have consistency, and be out there, and put yourself in there too. Yep. That's another thing, and I got to get better about that. But
and people actually prefer the stuff that's not so edited.
Yeah,
they actually want to see you be real and kind of make a mistake or whatever else. Or
it's relatable because nobody's perfect.
No one's perfect.
Everybody wants to just be like, hey, they're real people too, you know? I mean, it's a tendency. I've kind of a perfectionist kind of mode, you know, I get in. It's like, especially when it comes to editing photos, I'm like, oh, it's got to be just perfect, you know? But yeah, and those serve a purpose, right? I mean, for that magazine, you know, pop out kind of photo, but I mean, to wow people into your world, you want to get them involved in like what makes you tick, what is behind the camera, what is the process and the experience and all that stuff. And then behind the scenes, as you know, just definitely are very, very important. And that goes for a lot of industries, actually.
Yeah. People just want to see it.
Yeah.
They want to see how it's made. I mean, there's like the whole TV shows on how it's made, right?
Yeah, right.
Like the whole behind the scenes stuff, you know.
It's fascinating. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. It's a peek into a world that we're not necessarily familiar with, and so we want to know like what's the process. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
If they saw behind the scenes of our real estate office, it'd probably just be a bunch of like hair pulling, you know, just on the phone all the time, like, oh my God.
Or they see me at my desk with, you know, a shot of whiskey there going like, I'm going to make it through this session.
Like, oh, why didn't I do this?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, I've had plenty of those moments.
Like,
you know.
Like, is there an undo button? Please do undo.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, there's been so many times where you're like, you know, I get excited about what's going on. Maybe maybe there's something that's happening that's really cool. Really, maybe it's the event, the person. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of situation. You start clicking away and you start ignoring all the other stuff that you should have been paying attention to. And then you get home, you're like, why didn't I pay attention to what was in the scene or what, or the position of something, you know? And I was like, man, I just got to stop and take a look. And I've come a long way. Like I've really slowed down my shooting now. I used to just take too many pictures, and now I'm just like, slow down, look at the scene.
Right.
You know, the person doesn't care that you're taking like 1,000. They don't need 1,000 pictures. They want 50, you know? So take your time. And I think that's something that probably is the biggest takeaway for me from like just years of experience to realize like I don't need to just shoot so fast. Just slow down, take your time.
Right. Be kind of more methodical about it.
Yeah. But it's fun though. I wouldn't change what I do. I think it's a great career, and it's growing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your business.
Well, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
So, I mean, everybody I send to you is always just super ecstatic working with you on just the experience of and kind of making it fun and entertaining and, comfortable.
Nice.
And then
I try.
Obviously the product at the end, they're like, oh my God, it turned out so great,
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
I'm a cheerleader for you, Kevin.
Yeah. Oh man, you're like the best cheerleader I could ever have asked for. So, yeah, really,
go Kevin, go Kevin.
Really do appreciate, not only the business, but also just the relationship. And I think even just being on this podcast and, just knowing you just beyond other things, I think it's really cool. The connections we make in our community that are really important. And, you're a rock star in my book.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we do this podcast, is to connect with businesses.
Yeah.
Obviously we have a business, connect with businesses, and then listen to the story.
Yeah.
Let you tell it, right? Because it's almost like a behind the scenes podcast of business in Alaska.
Right.
And we've had such an outpouring of from businesses and our listeners. Just, oh man, I had no idea. That's so cool, especially with COVID, having people kind of talk about the impact of business and, and thank God for the EIDL and PVP and SBA funding for certain individuals and restaurants and the tourism industry and all that and stuff. And so be kind of telling that story.
Yeah.
And how people got started and the struggles they have, because people just see obviously businesses and this growth and all these wins, but you don't really see the man, I was at a point of failure almost, and I was about to give up, right? And then something just clicked,
right?
And then my business took off, but I was there, or they failed multiple times, and now finally something caught,
Right.
And so it's cool to hear the stories. To me, that's why I love doing this part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's great. I think it's I have big hopes for your podcast. I think it's great because I'll be listening, watching.
Yeah,
more people as they come through here.
Man.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. We've had a great time doing it. Like I said, a lot of people coming on in the future. So hoping to have some other organizations and of course more businesses. And so every week we have someone new,
nice,
and tell a story and tell that Alaskan business experience.
I am honored to be on your show.
Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
So you want to give a quick plug or a shout out to anybody or?
Oh gosh. Well, it's my family who's, tirelessly supports me and, making sure that I do what I do. And, putting up with, all the late nights and 24-hour working, schedule. And what else? Plugs. We already plugged Stewart's for a great supply of camera gear, but I think that's pretty
How
much
about
it.
Where can people find you?
So of course I'm on the typical social media sites like Instagram and Facebook. Just search up Kevin Hedin Photography, and if you need to know the spelling, it's Hedin. So Kevin Hedin Photography. Instagram is a great place. I have a website, just kevinhedin.com. And you can get started and just fill something out. I'd be glad to just start a conversation with you if you just need to learn more about what I offer.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
If you guys need any photo stuff, this guy right here is the man. So,
awesome.
Thanks. All right, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks, Justin.